All right, it is 4 p.m., so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is BC Clark, and I'm with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. I'm Director of Training and Client Development. We are an organization that does three really great things: training, technical assistance, and we also do loans for small businesses. Today, we're going to talk about networking and connecting. I want to thank Do Space for this opportunity, and we'll go ahead and get started. When I think about networking, I'm always thinking about the next event that's coming up. And one thing I noticed back in the day, probably 10 years ago, about networking was that when I would go to different events, I would see there were certain, like maybe two or three individuals that commanded the room. And when I say they commanded the room, they were very, very charismatic in a way, where they just kind of knew a lot of people. They knew that because they had built relationships. So I started watching these individuals as I would go to different events, and they would always be there. And when they would arrive or when they would come in, everyone knew who they were. And it wasn't that they all had done business, but because that person had developed some type of relationship with them. So that was one thing that I noticed about this. And this was, like I said, 10 years ago. It's quite different now, but basically, networking is really about listening, understanding, and building relationships. The other thing I noticed about highly effective networkers is that they build and then they would connect. And so I had to understand when they were building that relationship, how was it that it allowed them to connect? And I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. The other thing I noticed that they had a following. And people would, when they would walk in, people say, "Hey, I've got a referral. I think you'll be interested in." And it just went on, and I kept I got to the point. I thought, well, you know what? Let me try to check this out. What is it to this networking or connecting? I think later on people start calling it connecting, but it was networking back then. And what I really thought about it was that, okay, it's a group of people. That's what networking is, or that's what a network is. It's a group of people, and they come together based on, it's a like-minded organization that they may be interested in, so they're there. It could be a industry-specific group of individuals. It could be someone at a church that has a group there, women's group, men's group, and all of those. Women in business, men on a mission. I mean, it was all these different groups, and they're networking groups. It allows you to get to know other people. And I found out pretty early that there were some things that you could do differently, and you could build on whatever you didn't know, because networking is a skill. And by it being a skill, that means that you can improve on it. I know a lot of people say, "Well, I don't know how to network. I don't want to go to certain events." Well, networking is just that. It has its moments, and it's a time and a place for the things that you do. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But just understanding that a network group is exactly how it sounds. It's a group of people in that group, and they've decided to do things together, and it could be right, art, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to know that networking is something that you improve on as you do it. So don't say, "Well, I don't know if I can do that." One thing that we all know is that people love to talk about themselves. And so when you're in an event, a networking event, you want to, when you go and meet someone, you want to let them talk about themselves. And you do that because you really want to find out all about them that you can. And why? Because number one, you want to know as much as you can. So when it's your time to talk, you're able then to um, understand you've heard some things that they said, and they'll tell you about things that they're concerned about, any issues that they may have. And that happens in the normal conversation when you're networking or just meeting someone. You may say, "Well, tell me about your business." And as they do that, they're giving you some information. So it's keen for you to really listen at what they're saying, so that you'll know if there's something that you can offer them, a service or a product, or if there's something that you can do to help them with whatever issue or concern they may have, or maybe even finding someone else that could help them. And that's why it's keen to let them talk and listen at what they're saying, and making sure that you're keeping track of it. When it's your time to talk, you want to be able to say about some of the benefits that your company has. And perhaps some of those services or products might be able to help that person that you're talking with. Now, it's not a selling time, so don't start selling. You want to just mention some of the benefits, the products, services that you may have, but it's not a time to sell. Networking is really not about selling. It's really about building relationships. And building relationships is much more lucrative than selling. And I'll tell you why. Because the more you build on that relationship, it's going to bring you referrals that you may not even be able to get to. It'll be people that you don't know that they can refer to you that you don't know about. So that relationship becomes very important. So you don't want to start off giving your card and all that. I usually don't give my card out unless someone asks for it. And you'll say, well, that doesn't make any sense. No, it does. Because if they don't ask me for my card, they're not interested in my card. So, and I haven't built that relationship where they would say, hey, well, give me your card. I think I may want to talk to you later. So it is about taking the time and building relationship, talking to them, finding out what needs they may have, what issues that a business or some other person that you know may be able to solve for them. Remember, it's all about the relationship. You can offer services that they need or perhaps a tool that would help them. But remember, try not to sell, because in every event that I've been at and people, that's all they're doing is they're selling. Usually people will eventually walk away and they usually discard the card that they receive. And another thing that is really critical that you don't want to do when you're networking is to go through the crowd and start handing people your card. They don't even know who you are. And so when you do that right away, it kind of turns people off. So if this is your first time out networking, you want to do some things ahead of time, okay? And I want to talk about some of those things. We have to remember, though, in all of this that you're doing, networking is all about building relationship. It's not about how many cards you can collect, but it's about that genuinely getting to know that other person and that business. Taking that time, walking through that, listening, developing, all that happens because you're also building trust. If you're someone that just say, oh, well, I can fix that, I can fix that. You may not be able to fix everything, and people are genuinely not going to purchase from you when they don't know who you are. So you want to take that time to develop that relationship so that they can believe that you're someone that's going to be there, someone that really cares about their business. Remember, it's always, you're looking for the win-win, not for the win on my end and not on theirs, because they can pick that up and they can tell when you're not being genuine. It's so much so that you want to make sure that when you start to talk about your business, that you don't sell, but you say, there's a product that we use, or there's a product that we have, or here are some tools that might be able to help. I tell you what, I can help you understand these tools. I can help you with this. Let me see if I can, maybe we can set up a time where we can get together and talk about it. So again, it's building on them, on what their issue or concern might be, to let them know that you really care about their business. And that's really important. Because if you can't help them and you refer someone else that can, they're going to still remember you because you introduced that person. And if they have referrals, they will call you and contact you so that you can get that referral. It's building that invisible trust so that you can command the audience, and people will always want to give you a referral when they get one. The other thing that you want to be careful about is, you want to plan. Before I went to any event, any kind of networking event, and during COVID, obviously, it's a little different now. But before you would go to a physical event, I would write out at least how many people I would expect to meet at that particular event. I would also plan. And when I would plan, I would set goals for that event. Well, I want to talk to this many people. I want to talk to people in this industry. I want to find someone in that industry. And I would make those notes, okay? You set those expectations because it gives you the ability to measure your result once you're there. Am I going to find someone that's a small business? Oh, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people there. So I make notes, mental notes for myself, and I have that down. So I have a goal when I get to that event. This is what I plan to do. I want to plan how many different businesses I would love to talk to at that event. A lot of the events that I attend are usually small business events, networking for different organizations. And so I've scoped out and I've gone to one or two of these events more than once. And so I understand who might be there. So I set those type of goals. And then I plan to say, well, maybe I want to meet at least 4. You don't have to. And you definitely do not want to rush when you meet someone. So when you start networking and you go to an event, you want to make sure that you spend time and you don't rush from one person to the other, because that is another no-no. There's etiquettes in everything that you do, and networking has its own etiquette. So I'll tell you, you want to make sure that you take the time and understand what's going on, who is there, and just kind of walk through the crowd. If you get to a group of people and they're kind of like in a circle, and you kind of want to get into that group, what you want to do is to kind of stand by anyone in that circle, and pretty soon you'll see someone kind of move their right or left shoulder back. That's an opportunity for you to kind of step in to the circle, and then people will start asking you, well, hi, how are you? I'm so-and-so. What do you do? So, but if you get to a group and that doesn't happen, just walk along and go to another group. Some groups, they get together, they know each other. At a networking event, you go to meet different people. But some people go to networking events to be with the people they already know. So you just have to identify and move on to the next person. If you're a person that doesn't initiate well, going to events like the chamber events and things like that will allow people just automatically come up and start talking to you. I've been going to the chamber events for years, the Ralston Chamber, the Omaha Chamber. There's lots of chambers, and you can go to any of them to visit, especially with Coffee and Contacts and things like that. Those type of events you can go to, and there's tons of people, and there are a lot of different industries there. So you'll have an opportunity, even if you don't initiate, someone will come up to you and start talking. And then that's your opportunity. As they ask you, what do you do, or what's your business, you can give your side. And if you don't want to talk too much, that's fine. And then you ask them about their business, and then they'll start telling you about their business. Now, you want to develop some relationships. So look at some things that you may be able to talk about while you're in that conversation. Because again, you're not there to sell right now, and you're not trying to give them anything other than your ear to listen. So just don't be afraid to speak up and talk. Another thing I want to tell you is that I've been in events where there are certain groups that that's what they go, 2 or 3 will come and they spread out. Because if it's somebody I already know, I don't want to spend a lot of time with them. I want to wave at them and I want to move on to someone that I don't know, because I go to these events to meet other people. So I'm a big fan of going to events that are chamber related, that are specific to certain groups and things like that. I love going to those events. I know I'm going to meet someone different, and I'm going to learn more about individuals. And that's what it's about. It's not that I'm going to sell anything, and it's not that I'm going to collect a number of cards, but I'm truly going to meet new people, develop relationships, and see where it can go. Because there's so many people out there nowadays that are looking for people that can help them, and they don't know how to ask all the time. So a lot of times, it's just like Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Whenever I'm somewhere, they'll say, I don't think I know much about Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Well, at that point, it's my opportunity to say some of the services and the benefits that we provide, never selling, but saying, here are some of the things that we do provide to small businesses, and that's it. And if they ask another question, I answer that question. But I try not to do overload, because then people start walking away if you talk too much. So you have to kind of monitor what you're saying, but giving them the answers that they've asked for. And in return, you can say, oh, well, tell me a little bit about your business. And so the conversation gets going. But don't rush, and make sure that when you're meeting that person for the first time, that you spend time with that person. Don't just jump up and say, oh, I got to go give another business card out. That would be rude, and it's poor etiquette when you're networking. So just let them know that it's genuine. You really want to know about their business. And, there's a time that you'll say, well, I'm going to go and meet so-and-so. And that's how you would lead from that person to the next. And so just remember, you want to give your undivided attention, when you're doing that, because that's important. When people feel like you're rushing or brushing them off, they're not going to want to hear anything else you have to say. And that's not what you want to do there. So just remember, it's about getting to know the other person. You know, when we talk about goals that we have, the goal really is to build the relationship, because you never know when this particular person, whether you can help them or not, or whether they can help you right now. You don't know who they know. So the whole goal is to build a relationship with them, and that would open you up probably to their network. Oh, I know so and so that may be looking for that workshop or that training class. Oh yeah, I know someone, you know, and that's how that gets going. And the next thing you know, they're sending people to you to get a loan if that's the business you're in, or to, you know, purchase something. So you want to make sure that that relationship that you're building is all about that relationship and the trust that will come with it. So don't look for something right away. You know, just understanding that when you're building a relationship, it doesn't happen overnight. And you want to make sure that you keep in control of that relationship. So maybe you'll call and say, you know, hey, I was wondering, are you available for coffee? We have a new product. Or are you available for coffee? I'd like to know more about your business. So determine, you know, how you can help that individual or that business. You know, what are they kind of worrying with or suffering with? And then is it someone that you can refer them if they are having a problem that you can't fix? Because one thing about it, when you spend that kind of time and a person believes that you care about their business, when they run across someone that needs your services, they will refer you. And in the networking and the connecting arena, we call it invisible trust. Now, even though they may have never used your service, but because you were interested and you listened at them tell you what their issue was, somehow they're going to feel like they know you. And so they're going to refer anyone that says, you know, I'm looking for a small business loan. Well, oh, let's call BC. I met her at this opportunity or this event, and I think she'll be able to help you. I get those calls all the time. And so it does work. And I know for over the last 12, 15 years that I've been networking, those things have stuck with me, to never sell, but to build. And I think that is something that we all have to remember. There's always opportunity. And you may not see that opportunity when you first meet someone, but there is. And you just have to follow that through to make sure that it's going in the direction that you want it to go in. Now, and the thing is, when we talk about building that relationship, as you're meeting and building on that relationship, you're also building trust. And that trust will take you a really long way. And that's what I've gathered over the years, and the people that I've met even 15 years ago that will still send me referrals today. And so it is important. That relationship is really important. So just remember that. I've been in a lot of opportunities where people come in and they'll just give me a card and they'll say, oh, here's my card, here's my card. And they've never introduced themselves. I don't know who they are. And I have to tell you, those cards usually end up somewhere else other than in my hand. So I just want you to know, you need to stop and talk and get to know that person, and don't offer your card unless they ask. But you can always ask for their card if you've been speaking with them and you want to know more about them. Okay? And that's the thing I think you need to remember, because people won't buy from you if they don't know you, and they definitely will not refer you. So it makes sense to build that relationship so that you can, you know, be able or in the position where they would want to refer or purchase from you. And those things are key. The other thing is too, you know, when you go to these events and you collect cards and what have you, you want to make sure that you take the opportunity to write on the back of each card. I would go to events, and when I would meet John or Sally or Jim or whoever, while I'm talking to them, you know, I'll be listening at what they were saying. And if they were telling me something about their business, I would be writing on the back of that card. And they would think I'm taking notes on their business, which I was. But really, I was making a note of, you know, making sure that I called them or followed up. If they were someone that I wanted to have a follow-up with, I would put that on there. I put the date on there where it was that I met them. And when the opportunity arose, or when I needed to follow up, when I got back from this event, I would have that information I needed. I would usually collect those cards, and then I would sort them out, because sometimes you end up with cards from people, like I said, will just give you cards. And if I don't have anything written on the back of that card, I probably didn't meet that person. And so I would sort my cards by the people that just gave me their card, or the people that actually I spoke with. And I would put those in a different stack. And then I would categorize them on who I was going to follow up with first. I would probably not follow up with the stack of people that just gave me their cards, because I know nothing about them. So I would plan, and I would set, and I would go through, prioritize them, and then I would make calls. After that event, I would set up follow-ups, and I would give a call or an email, and I would state, hey, we talked at the event at the chamber. I really liked what I heard, and I'd like to know a little bit more about your business. That is a very friendly call, but it's an inviting call. And they would say, well, yeah, and do you have any dates on your calendar? Well, yeah, let me check. I mean, this is how you begin to build that relationship. Now, on that coffee call, you're still not there to sell, because you're still in the building phase. So you would say, well, do you have any concerns, or is everything going okay in the business? How are things going? And you can talk back and forth. That is letting them know that you're concerned about them. In many cases, that would happen, and I kept thinking that, oh, they just want to know so much about my business, but they were doing exactly what they needed to do. They were building a relationship, and I did want to tell them about the issues and things that I might have been having. And the thing that was really great, when they come back and say, you know what, I think I can help you with that, without saying they could sell me something. And then you all of a sudden, you're building that relationship. We have to remember that today, especially, if people don't know you, they're not going to refer anyone to you, and they're not going to buy from you. But even by making relationships in these networking events, people have that invisible trust that they will refer you. I get calls, and I can't remember the person who referred who referred them. They'll say, well, so and so referred you to me, and oh, well, that's great. And and I'll say, well, tell them thank you for me, or I'll give them a call later. I don't remember who it was, because I meet a lot of people, and sometimes you don't know what impact you have on that person until maybe someone refers. And even though do you follow up, a lot of times you just don't know. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just, I'll take that, and I'll make sure that I try, and when I meet with that person, to find out exactly who referred them. And then I go back into my little stash of my Excel sheet or whatever I have, and I'll look for that person, and then I'll send them a thank you. Because that's important. When someone refers you, you want to make sure that you're letting them know that you appreciate that referral. And you want to make sure that you call them, and at least, if nothing else, you want to make sure that you let them know that you appreciate that by giving them a thank you. I think a lot of times we forget that piece of it. I know a lot of people that will come and they'll say, last week, so-and-so, you sent me a referral and I forgot to call you. And it's okay. I usually can't remember. And they'll say, but I want to tell you, thank you so much for that. That was really, that worked out for me. That was a really good deal that I made, or what have you. That's what it's about. And it's about all of us sharing what we do, our benefits, our tools. And we do that to not only build up that other business or person, but to build up ourselves as well. Okay, because the more that we find out about them and we can help them, they're going to refer us, they're going to call us. And that's how it happens. And it's been like that forever. So just remember, networking is nothing that is hard to do. It's nothing, and a lot of people say, oh, well, I just don't like to network. Well, you have to network, especially if you have a small business. There's no way that you can get to where you need to go or get the success you want in your business without at least having some type of networking that you do. Even if it's a business after hours in your place, you can create your own type of networking, especially if you're a small business and you have your own space. A lot of businesses before the pandemic happened, people would have business after hours, and they would invite other businesses in. They may have some hors d'oeuvres or something like that sitting around and a few drinks, and people got to know each other. But most of all, they got to know you because you put this networking event on. And you got an opportunity to kind of state that up front, like, thank you guys for coming. And, this is what we do here, giving them a tour and what have you. All of that is networking. And I'm telling you, it pays off. It really does. And so you don't have to wait to go to an event. You can even stage an event online if you like and invite individual businesses and things like that. I know for now, right now, there's a lot of that going on. There's even business to business selling online. So don't think that you have to be stuck with whatever, oh, we can't do anything now because of COVID. No, you actually can. I mean, we're having training all the time online. On Saturday, I just did a training and it was all about pricing, and it was over 15 or so people that was on that call. So there's things you can do, and they sent their emails, they want to know more. So you can still network, even in training, even in giving a workshop like that. So don't think that you're limited. The opportunity is great, especially now with everything going on and people are kind of closed in right now. They're looking for opportunities to meet other people. They're looking for that time where they can get on a workshop on Zoom or Microsoft Teams and be able to have conversation, ask questions. And I know I'm going kind of fast on this, but if you guys have questions, please just let us know, and we'll go from there. Let me see here. It looks like there's one question. Oh, that was brief. So, okay, never mind. So you want to make sure that if you're not going to events, you can create your own event. You can create your own opportunity online or in a physical place and do all the things that the guidelines that we have to do today. There is still some of that physical socializing going on as long as we're doing what we should do. So you have opportunity to get involved and to do the things that you need to do. So don't be afraid to do that. Take that opportunity. And even if you go to a class where you're in with other people and it's social distancing, take out the opportunity to introduce yourself. You can introduce yourself to the individual next to you or down across from you, or however it is, and just start talking, and ask them about their business. Networking is one of the easiest way to build your pipeline of new people to meet. And not only that, but to build that pipeline of potential customers by just calling up and talking with them. So you want to make sure that you take the opportunity whenever you get it to do those things. It's really easy to set up certain planning guidelines to do what you need to do, and you want to make sure that you plan accordingly. So even if you do an event where you're the one who is sponsoring it, set out little brochures and cards so people can take those if you don't have the opportunity to go ahead and start talking to them about it. So just take the opportunity to do those things. When I think about when I first started out networking, I didn't know that you needed to plan it. It's just like going to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store, you have your list, right? I do. If I don't, I'll buy everything in the store. So I just take my list with me. I may occasionally throw something in that's not on the list, but basically that list helps me stay focused on what I'm doing. And so when I go to networking events, I do the same thing. I plan before I get there. And if it's an event that I've gone to before, I know certain events that work for me, and those are the ones typically that I'll spend money to go to, because there's always a return. Okay, and you'll get to that point where you'll go to certain events and you'll notice some that don't yield anything and some do. Well, I go to those that I can meet lots of people, and be able to develop new relationships. I'm not a fan of going to the same event every week in a tips or whatever group. I think those are great groups for people who want to do that. But I think when you're building your pipeline, you want to make sure you're going to events that anybody can attend so that you have opportunity to meet different people at different times. So I do my planning and I set out what result I expect to have or what result I would love to receive during that time. I lay that out and I have a goal when I get there. Again, like I said, if I've been to that event before, I kind of have a kind of a template of what I do when I get there. And I know some businesses that I want to meet. And so I just lay that out. And if it's 4 businesses or 3 businesses, it's not by cards. I don't say I'm going to get 5 cards, because I think when you do that, then you're looking at making sure you have 5 cards and not the relationship. So I don't set a number on the the cards. I set a number of people I want to meet, and meaning that I want to meet those people, not just have a short conversation or say, hey, how are you? I want to meet them. I want to find out about them. I want to know what they want me to know about their business, and I want to be there to listen at it. And if I only get to 3 of those individuals, because maybe that person really had a lot to tell me, then it'll only be 3. But I do spend that time. I'm focused while I'm talking with them. I let them know that I'm listening at what they're saying. I would interject in that conversation every now and then just to get further clarity for myself. But I let them know that I care about what they're saying. And so I don't rush anything. But after we've talked, and I ask a lot of questions because I want to know as much as I can. So I ask questions like, what about this? And they love that. They love for you to ask them questions because they love to talk about what they're doing or who they are. They do. And you do too, and so do I. We all love to talk about ourselves. It's nothing new. So you spend that time with them, listening at what they have to say, because it'll be advantageous for you when it's your turn to talk, right? Because you're going to tell them some things that they'll want to hear, and they'll listen, and you're starting now to develop that relationship. And so I usually just decide how many businesses I want to meet at that particular event, and I go through that same process. If I don't meet 5 or 4 or whatever I met, I make sure that they were memorable and it was a genuine conversation that I've had with them. And I make notes so that I can follow up with them. And remember, in all these cases, it's not about selling your product or your service. It truly is about building genuine relationships. Because when you build a genuine relationship, you're beginning to connect. And connecting is even more important, because when you connect with that one person and then you connect that person with someone else, and that's been my new thing. I am a habitual connector. I will connect people all the time, and especially if I know their business and I know someone else's business and I know that these two can come together for some common goals on things. I am a connector in that particular arena. And I think it's important for us to always know that no matter who you meet, there's opportunity there, opportunity to grow your business, opportunity for a new potential client. It just depends. And you have to make sure that you're as genuine about all the things that you're saying and doing, because if you're not, people can tell if it's just something to, get their card. You can't say, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, can I have your card? Well, that's not building a relationship. You listen, you sit and talk. It's not like you have to meet everybody at that place that day. And I think that's what's important. I think a lot of people think that they have to get it all done right now in this 30 minutes. I need to meet as many people as I can so I can build my pipeline. And if you're thinking that way, it will never work in a great way, because you're going to lose. So just remember that it's about getting to know that person and that business, understanding what it is that they're offering so that you can see if there's anything that you can do to help them, that you may have a product or service that you can offer them, not at that time, but later on as you build this relationship. Or maybe they have a problem that someone who can solve it for them. And so that's what, when we talk about networking, that's what it's about. And remember, it's about you just taking the time to get to know. That's going to bring you great value later on. The results that you're looking for, they don't always happen right away, but they do further down the line. And you keep going to events, because as you go to different events and people begin to see you at events that happen mostly all the time, like events at the chamber, that usually there's something every month that's happening. Other chambers as well, there's events that happen, and so there's lunches that they have, a monthly lunch every month. So when you go, there's multiple different businesses at these events. And somehow when you're there and you meet this person and you meet that person, pretty soon you become a regular in that networking event. And so people now begin to bring people over and say, hey, do you know BC? Or do you know John? Yeah, he does so and so and so and so. They begin to tell your story for you. And so that's what you're doing. So you take that opportunity and you start building those relationships one by one, so that you can also command the room, that you'll be able to be that person that everybody's looking at saying, wow, everybody knows them. and wow, this person has a referral, that person has a referral. That's how that happens. It does not happen overnight. And it doesn't happen by just giving everybody your card. You have to spend the time to get to know these folks and understand that they will, it always comes back to you. They're always going to come back to you and bring a referral or bring something that you can use. That's just how it happens. And I always tell individuals that even if you're in an event and you just don't know anyone in that event, just walk up to anyone and just say, hi, hey, this is my first time here, but I'd love to know about you and your business. I mean, I'm the type of person that I'm not afraid to talk. Obviously, you know that. But that's what I, if it's a place that I just don't know anyone there, I start meeting people at that event, and I spend time and I'll talk about the business. They can talk about their business. And if they decide to give me a card, say, hey, well, here's my card. Call me. I say, okay, well, that's great. And then if I don't offer the card, they'll say, hey, can I have your card as well? I let them ask for the card. Not that that's you have to. If, you can just offer your card if you want to, but I like for them to ask because that way I know they really want the card and they want to know more about that business. Because I think what I do is I usually get that card and go, when I get home, I start going through the website, looking at their Facebook page, just seeing what, how the business is structured, when it started and things like that, because I want to know about that business, especially before I go on a follow-up with them. When I go on a follow-up, I want to know some information about that business so I can have a conversation with them about their business. And people love that when you know about their business. I mean, it's just like going to these events and all of a sudden people are coming over and introducing people to you. They take the footwork out of it for you by bringing people over. But that doesn't happen, like I said, overnight. It's just that in that slow building and getting to know people. And that's what's really credible and really good about networking. It is a great way to gain and grow your client pool, or your just getting to know people and having that list of people that you can begin to network with and find out more about their groups of people that they're with. Now, networking on social media is the same. I mean, there's Zoom events all the time. There's Microsoft Team events. There's Instagram things that are happening, YouTube, Facebook. I mean, you can choose, and you can even set up events. About 2 months ago, I think it was, we did a gala online. And so you can do social events and you can get to meet people. Again, just like on this event here, if I want to know more about your business, when I get the email list, I may send you an email. Okay. I mean, just to say, hey, you were on that event. I was just wondering, would you like to have coffee? What type of business is yours? You see what I'm saying? So you can still develop relationships even during COVID. There's no reason that you can't. But just remember that, again, we always want to think about building relationship. You have to build it to gain and win. And that's what I always say when it comes to networking. It's not about something being fast and hurry up and let me do this and let me give this cards out. Because a lot of times people have given me cards and they're still in the stack and I've never gotten to know who they are because they didn't take the time to talk about themselves or tell me who they were. And so I haven't had the time to go through that stack. I'm much more with the people who have sent me emails or who have given me a card or even sent me an email and say, hey, I would like to know more about your business. And you can do the same thing right now. Even though we have COVID, send an email, make a cold call. Say, hey, I was just going through this and I saw your business out here. I would really like to know more. I'll tell you, people will talk to you and tell you what you need to know about their business. And again, when the time is right and you can go visit that business, do so. But you don't have to stop right now and say, oh, well, I can't do anything now because of COVID. No. You can do so many things. I mean, even on like this workshop today, I mean, I think it's opportunity there that you can either find out who else is on. If you know someone that's on, I mean, you can send information back and forth. You can chat and say what things you want to know or what things you don't want to know. So yeah, networking happens all the time. It happens at the post office. It happens at the grocery store. It doesn't have to be an event that you come up with. I talk to people everywhere. It's crazy. But but it's because I'm that type of person and I love meeting people. And with COVID, I have my mask on and things, and people will come up and say, hey, you know what, were you the one that did the Facebook thing? Yes, I was. And start a conversation in the grocery store, and that can lead to something else. So don't let the whatever time we're in keep you from learning as most as you can and doing what you can. Because if you're trying to build your business and be successful, you're going to have to look at some creative ways to make that happen. A lot of people during this COVID were stuck and they were trying to decide what to do, where to go. And the thing was that they needed to stop and say, okay, I can't do that, but what can I do? And then start making notes. And that's kind of what I would tell my clients. What is it that you can't do right now that you were doing before COVID? And once they wrote down everything, a lot of times they could still do those things, but in a different way. So think of that if you're saying, about networking and social media is there. You can do almost anything. Facebook Live. I mean, hello, you can have an event, Facebook Live. I mean, there's so many things. So don't be stumped or say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. Yes, you can. And you can get a lot of stuff done during this COVID. I know a lot of people that are, and I am myself. I've met, I don't know how many people during COVID and not in person. This has been online, that I can, that wanted to do a workshop or wanted a loan or something like that. So don't let things stop you because of what you see and what the circumstance is. Look for ways that you can make things happen without having to be in someone's face to face. Okay. So this was all about networking. And if you have questions, please let me know. But we're at the end of this presentation. And again, some of the things that I think was really key is that if you're going to network, plan before you go. And if you need some information on that, I do have, I can send this slide, but I do have some additional information on networking and how to connect with individuals and how to effectively do it, network and connect. Building relationships is the number one thing. When you hit that, right, you're going to have connections that happen all around the place. And so just remember that don't sell when you first meet someone. It's not to sell, it's to build. You're building a relationship, you're building your potential client pool, you're looking at a pipeline, but you're not trying to make it happen overnight. So I want to thank DoSpace. If there are no questions, I would love to answer any. If you have any questions, I would love to answer those. And I'll wait a minute or so and see if we have any. And if we don't, but my information is right here on the screen. If you need to contact me, my email is right there. And so is the website for the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Again, we provide technical assistance for small businesses. We provide mentoring. We do a lot of training, as well as we also do loans from $1,000 up to $150,000. So, and we're right here in Nebraska, and we serve the whole state of Nebraska and Southwest Iowa. So if you have questions, let me know. Okay. Other than that, I think there might be a question. Let's see here. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you. I'm glad. If you have any other questions, just let me know. I'm glad that it was great for you. And if you have any additional questions, or if you need additional information on networking or on anything with small businesses, we have tons of training. So check out our website so you can see when the next training is. And again, our website is right there, and my email is right there as well. All right. So thanks again to DoSpace for allowing us to have the opportunity to present. And we'll see you guys, I think on the 5th of August is our next presentation. And I think we'll be talking about insurance and how it's important for you to have that for your small business. So we'll give you some tips and tools on that when we have that on August 5th. So thank you very much for joining us today. And Bree or Allison, if you don't have anything else, we can jump off if that's all we don't have any other questions, I don't think.
Doesn't look like it. Thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.